Silly YouTube, so it's almost Christmas time and it's feeling really different for me this year because as you can see I'm in a t-shirt. It's hot outside today because of course in New Zealand it's summertime, and so Christmas in New Zealand looks really different, like the most different I think it could possibly look compared to Christmas in France. So of course I noticed all sorts of random kooky funny things that the French did around Christmas time that we just don't. For us, Christmas is like pineapple on ham, barbecue salads, going to the beach, playing cricket in your backyard. Like Christmas is outdoorsy in New Zealand. And of course in France you've got the French culture and it's in winter time as well. So in this video I wanted to talk through some of the French Christmas traditions that I picked up on that are really different, especially because my partner comes from Provence in the south of France, and they also have some particular regional differences as well. And we're also going to, along the way, seed in a couple of key pieces of French vocabulary around Christmas, or Noël, as it is called in France. And I promise by the end of the video, you will know who this guy is.
Oui, bonjour.
So I am so excited to jump into this video, but just before I do, I wanted to mention if you wanted to potentially give yourself the gift of learning French or someone that you love, I wanted to talk about Lingoda, who are the wonderful sponsors of today's video. Lingoda are an online language school and my personal favorite because I use them to get my French from level B1 to B2. And why people like me love Lingoda so much is that you can learn anytime, anywhere. It's perfect to learn on your lunch break, or if you're a night owl like me, if you want to do a class at midnight, you absolutely can. The class sizes are really small with just 3 to 4 people on average in each class with a maximum of 5. So you get that personal attention from those native qualified professors that are leading the courses. You can learn at home, in your PJs, it doesn't matter at all, and there are levels all the way from beginner to the absolute more advanced bilingual levels as well, in the languages of English, Business English, Spanish, German, and of course French. What's also really cool about the Lingoda method is not only is it guaranteed to boost your fluency, but it's just the way the platform is presented. It's been overhauled recently with a new modern look. They've got quizzes, you've got homework, like it's just really nice and easy to use as well. And because of their business model and the way that they can scale these language classes, they start at just €8 per lesson, so they're really affordable. So I love them, loads of my subscribers love them, and if you want to check out more testimonials as well, head over to their Instagram, where you can read through more about their offer and all of the great things that people have to say about them as well. So thanks to Lingoda, you can click the link down below and it will offer you a 7-day free trial where in a period of 1 week you can try 3 classes worth €40 and try it absolutely free. And if you want to sign up for the classes, you can use the code ROSIE5. It's going to give you €20 or about $22 off your first month as well. Just one thing to note is that this discount doesn't apply to the Lingoda Sprint. Now I talked all about the Lingoda Sprint in this video, so go and check it out, but basically it's a really intensive 3-month challenge where you can get up to 100% cash refund. So if that sounds more like you, go and check out that video. I'll link it down below if you want that more intensive experience where you can actually get 100% of your fees refunded. Cool, so with all that said and done, let's jump into your French traditions and language around Christmas time. Okay, so let's talk about the lead up to Christmas. So France is a little bit more low-key when it comes to the Christmas side of things. Like you're not gonna have the Christmas songs, you know, playing in stores from the beginning of November with people, you know, putting lights and Santas on their front lawn and all of that kind of stuff. You know, it's a little bit more low-key. People start wishing you Merry Christmas or Joyeux Noël more around the week of Christmas. There aren't really a lot of traditional French Christmas carols and Christmas songs. A lot of them have been kind of borrowed from around the world and they've kind of just made their own cover or version. One that I particularly like and I learnt when I was learning French is Vive le Vent, so I will link that down below. It's the French version of Jingle Bells. But yeah, in France there are more so hymns, you know, from the church and that kind of stuff. Like it's not really common, in fact it'd be very rare to have a French pop star to bring out a Christmas album, for example. However, it could be the case in French speaking Canada, so yeah, some songs will come from there. Oh, and going around caroling to people's houses isn't a thing. It's not a thing in New Zealand either. I think that's more of a maybe US Canada thing, but just FYI, that's not really a thing in France either. So something that the French don't really do that we do in New Zealand are sending out Christmas cards to your friends and family, wishing them a Merry Christmas. The French tend to do more so a recap of the year. It's more like a New Year card or greeting card, and that's sort of shifted now onto social media anyway. But yeah, it's more about the New Year for them than Christmas. However, something that they do is the Advent calendar, especially for French children, of course, where every day of December leading up to Christmas, they have a little box that they can open to find a chocolate. Another thing that you do in the lead up to Christmas in France is you make the crèche, so the nativity scene, with les santons de Noël. And this is especially true in Provence, where Niels is from. So he's from Avignon, and in Provence, whether you're religious, not religious, like you'll have a crèche in your home with these little characters which are called santon. Now Niels' family did send some to us, so I'm going to show you a few so you can see what I mean. So of course, which is quite important for a nativity scene, is a baby Jesus. This is kind of essential. Mary and Joseph, also some key characters there as well. But then there's like literally hundreds of different characters that you can make, and the best of them are sort of handmade in France and, you know, hand painted, and so they're all very individual and they're all very unique in that nature. So you can have so many different characters, obviously inspired from the Bible, but not only anymore, and you create almost like a community look. You put down like twigs and verdure, what's the name, like leaves and things like this to create a bit of a scene, as well as having usually the inn. And it's also very common to have little animals in the scene as well. Even this little guy, this little hen is welcome. But of course, we've got donkey, goat, a bull here as well. So you've also got little animals that you can collect. And I suppose every year, just like a lot of families would collect a special Christmas tree decoration in New Zealand, I suppose in France you might want to collect different kind of santon and add to your collection every single year. There are also, of course, Christmas markets in France, so all the way down from very local, you know, putting out those pop-up stands with lots of delicacies and handmade crafts and that kind of thing, all the way to the very famous ones on the Champs-Elysees in Paris, and of course the famous Christmas markets in Strasbourg as well. And while individuals and individual homes may not be putting massive blow-up like candy canes and Santas and lighting effects and going too crazy with personal Christmas lights and displays, you do in Paris, you know, you get stores like Galeries Lafayette doing their windows every year. People look forward to seeing what the window display will be. And you get more of those community lights, so strings of lights in the streets, snowflakes, that kind of stuff, more so in townships, like on the main road kind of thing. We have that as well, you know, some tinsel and lights in town, but we also have, especially because there's a bit of a competition around it, you can win a year of free electricity. But we do have people going quite hardcore on the Christmas lights as well. So that's probably a little bit more ingrained in our culture than it is over in France. Now, the Christmas tree, or le sapin de Noël. So the Christmas tree is very similar to what we do in New Zealand, which is ridiculous really, because we're in the middle of summer and we have pine trees with like decorations with snowflakes and tinsel, and it looks very European. But we have pretty much the same thing when it comes to the Christmas tree. I think something that we do, which the French do less, is that we put candy canes throughout our Christmas trees as well. But otherwise it's more or less the same. You have your sapin de Noël and you have your presents underneath. But now, instead of putting out Christmas stockings, you know, we have your stocking fillers, the little bits and pieces, the little gifts for each person. What French children do is that they put out their shoes by the Christmas tree or the fireplace. And the idea, of course, being that Santa, or Père Noël, Father Christmas, will drop some little gifts and bits and pieces in there as well. So all of this, of course, is happening la veille de Noël, Christmas Eve, la veille de Noël. And something quite interesting to note is that in France, the celebration of Christmas, like the big family meal, is quite flexible. It might actually be on Christmas Eve or on Christmas Day. So the reason for this being is that, you know, Christmas used to be centered around going to mass at midnight. You know, very Catholic country, and a lot of people there still are very religious and Catholic and that kind of thing, and they will go to their midnight mass. That is still true, but basically what used to happen is that there'd be the big feast after mass. So nowadays you might still have that massive family meal that goes on and on for like 6+ hours, but it starts more on midday on Christmas Eve, or some families have shifted that to Christmas Day itself, or because France, some families both. You know, you've got Christmas Eve, you've got midnight mass, and then you've got the whole shebang on Christmas Day as well. Basically, there's a lot of food, and I'm going to share the main things that people are eating and drinking in just a second. But before we do, I just wanted to raise a point that had me a little bit shook, to be honest. So, okay, so as per, you know, you've got Father Christmas delivering the presents through the night, and on Christmas morning children are opening their Christmas presents, their les cadeaux de Noël. That's all very well, so far so good, same story. But in France you've got a character called Père Fouettard, and Père Fouettard is a real weirdo. His name literally translates to like father spanker. Yeah, father spanker, father flogger. Basically, he's gonna beat you. And so basically the idea is that Saint Nicholas comes along with Père Fouettard to decide who's been naughty or nice, and Saint Nicholas gives the nice kids, the good kids, the presents under the tree, and the other guy gives the kids either that lump of coal or a beating, a spanking, if they've been naughty. So you've got Father Spanker coming along and deciding as well if kids have been naughty or nice. This definitely wouldn't go down well in New Zealand culture, because we've actually made the spanking of children illegal, so it would just be a little bit as a family message at Christmas time. All right, so now into the good stuff. You wanted to know, what are you eating and drinking at Christmas time in a French household? Obviously every region's a bit different, every family's a bit different, but I'll walk through my experience a little bit. So what you'd find is that there'd always be, as always, like an appetizer, kind of, you know, champagne, tapinha, like olives and spreads and stuff on those like mini toasts, and yeah, little nibbles, olives, that kind of stuff. In New Zealand, our classic starter would be a prawn cocktails. Then in terms of starters, what's quite common are oysters, foie gras, so yeah, like homemade foie gras with nice bread and stuff, salmon, and I even had one year escargot, yeah, snails. So we didn't eat that often. I've had it once throughout my 6 years in France, but I did have them, and yeah, they were all garlicky and buttery, and they were done by Niels's grandmother, and we had some escargot as some of our starters as well. In terms of the mains, you do usually have some kind of bird, you know, like goose or turkey, turkey stuffed with chestnuts, for example, a nice chestnut stuffing, and then of course lots of vegetables. Again, lots more garlic and butter, so some really nice like potatoes with garlic and butter, maybe some beans, some greens, any kind of veggies that with, yeah, garlic butter, some Provençal herbs and that kind of stuff, and that's pretty classic as a Christmas main. And then to finish, for the dessert, you have la bûche de Noël. Oh, beautiful, what a delicacy. So it's kind of like a chocolate sponge roll, typically made with chocolate and chestnuts as well. Now in Provence we get it even better. It goes next level because we have les 13 desserts, the 13 desserts. Why 13? Because it represents Jesus and the 12 disciples at the Last Supper. So typical desserts here could be figs, nuts, lots of nuts here, walnuts, chestnuts. You can have nougat as well, so like nougat bark, which is like basically, yeah, like this white bark with like almonds and nuts inside as well. French are big on like fruit and nut combos, like really big on that. And as is tradition, everyone will taste one of the desserts to have good luck in the year to come. There's also just, yeah, typically lots of good wine and champagne flowing all day, and I have really nice memories of roasting chestnuts over the fireplace as well, which is just, again, so different to the New Zealand experience, which is like, you know, summer, so lots of cherries, strawberries, whipped cream, very light summery kind of food. Now on the table, the French aren't so much into Christmas crackers as we are, so it's becoming more of a thing, but it's not a huge thing to have like the Christmas crackers and the hats and all that kind of stuff. But what they have instead scattered on the table, they're called papillotes, and papillotes are essentially chocolates wrapped in gold foil, and they do have a little bad joke inside, kind of like the cracker concept. So you'll get a really bad like dad joke inside those as well. So there's where the traditions kind of overlap. And then in terms of the other major holiday, you have New Year's, and when the clock strikes midnight and you want to say Happy New Year in French, you will say Bonne année, bonne année, bonne année, way, bonne année. So I hope that you enjoyed this insight into French Christmas traditions. Let me know if you've noticed anything different or I've missed anything down below, so that we can continue the conversation and talk about how things differ in different countries as well. And otherwise, if you're watching this, this is my last video before Christmas, so I do want to wish you all a very happy holiday, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, or as the French will say, Joyeux Noël, bonne fête, and of course Happy New Year as well when it's time, bonne année. Otherwise, I'll see you soon on the Not Even French channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. A bientôt!